Okay, when these cities were all being created, there were so many debates. How can you declare a rural area a city? Because Arua city is one of the largest cities. It is about 400 square kilometers. And of course, we declared a municipality then and also added on some areas so to make it bigger. So before, what the municipality was about 11 square kilometers. That was quite small. So now you expand it to about 400. And everybody kept asking, but why do this, you know? You have even declared a rural area called Ayivu, a city. So are you doing the right thing? And
that would mean that some people's homes, gardens, and farms are in the city.
Declared cities.
Yes.
Yes, and the answer, and my answer is yes. Actually, the best city that you can have is that which is still virgin. So that you begin from scratch. To begin with, plan for it.
You plan effectively.
Then have the physical development plan implemented. So like I've mentioned, an example of Arua city, which already has a physical development plan. If the city became very intentional, budgeted for the implementation of this physical development plan, and implementation means opening up all the roads that have been planned. Open them up. When you open up these roads while the area is still virgin, what will happen is that the areas where you'll have opened the roads, that infrastructure will develop very fast. And then even the owners of those areas, the properties there, the properties will gain value because you have given them access. And then thirdly, the other advantage is in future, when you actually want to even improve these roads, since you have already opened them up, there's nobody who's going to come up and say, I need compensation. Today, infrastructure development, or the paving and development of roads has become very, very expensive because of issues of compensation. So every time you want to open up a new road, somebody wants to be compensated. Oh, the road is going through my land, I need to be compensated. And for me, at this point, I want to say that there is no better compensation than somebody putting a road to go through your land. First of all, they have given it value. That is the best compensation you can get. And when that road is even paved, it is even better. So we need to move as a country, as government, to ensure that we have these physical development plans implemented, and the implementation will begin with the opening up of these roads.
Interesting. I would also love to know, and also some Ugandans are interested in knowing, what some of the parameters, features that you come and say now Kyengera or any other place qualifies to be declared a town council, and later we shall go to the municipality, and also want to understand what you consider to be the parameters to declare a place, a city, as you talked about the 10 cities that we just had in 2020. And some people always say it is a political kind of movement, as we have had the recent city that was created, and they said, now that we are nearing general elections, we expect more cities to be created. And it seems to be a technical issue and becomes a political one. If you can help us understand the parameters, then we shall know that tomorrow, if we know that our district has been declared a city or a municipality, then we know it qualifies.
Thank you very much. To begin with, these creations are creations of the law. For example, Section 7 of the Local Governments Act mandates the Minister of Local Government to declare, for example, an urban area.
It is the minister?
Yes, the minister can declare an urban area a city in consultation with Parliament and Cabinet. But to begin with, the minister also will not just dream and say, you know, this area needs to be declared. There are two things that must happen. One, either the area must be urbanizing very fast, and therefore, as a responsible minister, he will move and say, no, instead of this area urbanizing very fast and urbanizing in an organic manner, in a disorganized manner, I think it is better we declare it, plan for it, so that it is developed in an organized manner. Okay. So the other scenario is the idea is perceived by that particular local government. So the local government realizes that they need to have, say, a city or a municipality, or their area needs to be declared. So council will sit. So the council now is the parliament of that local government. So they will sit, pass a resolution, communicate this resolution to the minister responsible. So the minister, upon receiving this resolution, will send a technical team to the ground to go and carry out the technical studies. Mm-hmm. Technical studies to establish whether this area actually meets the criteria. And part of the criteria is that this area must have a certain population. For example,
what is the population for a town council?
A town council, it should have at least 25,000 people, inhabitants. A municipality should have at least 100,000 people. A city should have at least 500,000 people, population. So that is one of the criteria that must be followed. Then this entity to be declared must also have the capacity to meet the cost of delivery of some of its services. It must have that capacity. And then it must have also some of the other amenities. For example, water. For example, you look at the distance. What about these other social services? Say the police, the prisons, how far? If you're going to declare an area, a district.
The schools,
how
the
far?
hospitals.
Yes. The schools, some of them can come with the time, because we have had the president directing that every sub-county, for example, must have a seed secondary school. So some of those can come later, but at least there must be some of those social amenities provided. Must have a health center, yeah? Must have a master plan, because it's not just a matter of declaring and then this area does not even have where to begin from, like from scratch. There must be something in place already, and therefore it is declared so. So when the technical studies are carried out, a report is made, a report is scrutinized, and then the minister prepares a cabinet paper and goes to cabinet to seek cabinet decision on that matter. Once cabinet has taken a decision, then the minister now will move to parliament. And again, parliament will also take a decision, pass a resolution, either to create that particular local government or not to. So that is part of the criteria that is followed while creating or declaring some of these areas, either declaring a town council, a municipality, a district, or a city.
2020, you created about 10 cities. Few were called regional cities, and the others were called strategic cities. Where is the difference, and why did you consider that or take that direction?
Yeah, so in 2020, first of all, we moved because we had quite a number of requests from the local governments, council resolutions, requesting for declaration of some of the areas that had really met the criteria, some of the areas that were fully urbanized to be declared cities. And even then, these cities were also envisioned in the country's vision 2040. The country's vision, it has been divided into 6 national development plans. And as we speak today, we are implementing the National Development Plan 4. So meaning that we are left with the 2, if there are 6. So it means that by 2020, and this is a 30-year plan, a 30-year vision. So if we are talking about a vision 2040, so it means that by 2040, all these cities that were envisioned should have been declared. And of course, quite a number of them were envisioned, and in 2020, we moved to cabinet with a paper, and 15 cities were declared. Cabinet made a decision to create 15 cities. We moved to Parliament, and Parliament as well passed a resolution to have 15 cities created. But you know, these cities come with costs, with cost implications. So Parliament and Cabinet approved that these cities be operationalized in a phased manner. So this is why out of the 15, we have 10 that are already operational. And what kind of cities are these that we created? We created the regional and strategic cities. Now, the regional cities, these are for purposes, first of all, addressing the decentralization policy, because we want to take these urban services closer to the people. And therefore, we have the regional cities in those particular regions, such that if somebody is in Soroti, somebody is in Kumbi, somebody is in Kalaki, somebody is in Kaberamaido, does not have to come all the way to Kampala to seek the urban services. So that person has a city called Soroti. So those are the regional cities. And then we have Arua for the West Nile region. We have Mbarara for the Western region, Mbale for the Eastern region, and Gulu for the Northern region. And then we also had the Kabale also approved, though it's not yet operational.
So among the 5 that...
the 15, the 5 that that are yet to be operationalized when resources permit. Yes, so because the approval was that they get operationalized in a phased manner. And this even helps me to clear the air, because those cities that were declared so have been asking, when are we going to be operationalized? So the operationalization is informed by the readiness. The readiness is informed by availability of the resources. So we have...
what are the other 4? It is Kabare.
The regional cities?
Those the 5 that were not
the 5 that are not
declared.
Yet operationalized. We have Entebbe city.
Entebbe here?
Yes.
Okay.
And Entebbe is a strategic...
municipality.
Yeah, it is now still a municipality.
Is it going to be a regional?
No, it is a strategic.
It is strategic.
It is a strategic city.
Because of the airport?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It is a port city.
Then you would have started,
entry point.
Have started with Entebbe.
It's an entry point.
It's more strategic than the others.
Sure. At least Kampala
yes.
and the Greater Metropolitan area is serving that area.
Okay.
So the need for the agency really was not there. So, but it is a strategic city. It's an entry point into the country. And if you know the history of this country very well, and those that know the history, that in 1954, it was the capital city of Uganda.
1954?
Yes, before Kampala.
How did then Kampala
Entebbe
take it over?
So Kampala, I think, grew very fast, and therefore it was declared the capital city.
Okay.
Yes, but back in the days, it was Entebbe was the capital city. So, and these regional cities and the strategic cities are meant to serve...
But Kabare remains a regional city
yes,
now.
for Kigezi region.
Okay.
Yes, and then we have the strategic cities. So the strategic cities that are already operational, we have Fort Portal Tourism City.
Yes.
For tourism.
They have tried. They have been hosting
and you'll even
marathons.
find that when you go into the structure of Fort Portal City, you'll find that the structure of Fort Portal City in terms of operations addresses the tourism aspect.
True.
Unlike other cities. So the structure for Fort Portal City is not the same as that one for Mbarara City, right? And then we have Jinja Industrial City.
Because of the industries around. Okay.
Exactly. And yes, and tourism as well, because of the Nile. Then we have Nakasongola, which is not operational. It is also because it has a vast area coverage and flat. So it is one city that the Vision 2040 envisions as an industrial city.
Oh, yes.
Then we have Moroto Mining City. That one is also not yet operational, but it is also meant to be a strategic city. So, and then the other interesting city also proposed is the Wakiso city. Yes. Ideally, Wakiso...
Why Wakiso? We have Entebbe, if you declared a strategic city. We have Kampala in the middle as a city as well. Yes.
Ideally, from the technical perspective, Wakiso is meant to be the metropolitan area for Kampala, because every city is supposed to have a metropolis around it, a metropolitan area. This is why now Kampala, when you come to the Ministry for Kampala, it's called the Ministry for Kampala and the Metropolitan Area, meaning that even the surrounding municipalities and districts fall in that metropolitan area. So, but the people of Wakiso, now this is a request, like I was telling you, that some of the requests come from the local governments themselves. So the local government, Wakiso itself, felt that no, we are a district with 4 municipalities: Entebbe, Makindye, Sabagabo, Kira, and Nansana. And all these are big municipalities. So they said, no, we ought to be a city. So we are still doing the technical studies, because even the demarcations of the boundaries have not yet been done. So when we get there, we shall see whether this is viable. But of course, as far as its viability is concerned, Cabinet approved and Parliament approved. So when we get there to the operationalization, of course, when we are doing the technical studies, we do extensive consultations. Yeah, so we think that as far as Uganda's urbanization concern is, we have addressed it by declaring these areas that are urbanized cities, declaring them municipalities, and therefore we expect them to have physical development plans in place, detailed plans in place, so that they can develop in an organized manner.
Interesting. Who is in charge of physical planning? I've seen and heard some places are not really organized. You find that where we expect a market is where we have the residents, where we expect schools is where we have residents. Who is in charge? When you declare them, do you go ahead and advise them on how to relocate and also organize themselves? I went to Mbare several times, and you would realize that it is a bit well planned. Even the shops that are near the road, you can see that indeed it was planned. But if you had to move to some places and towns and cities in this country, you'd find that even some people's plots are near or even in the road entering some of the odd areas. And one wonders if we do have physical planning.
Who is in charge? Is there anybody in charge? Yes, where do you find that kind of disorder? So like I mentioned earlier, that physical planning is a decentralized function. So ideally, the respective local governments...
Kampala? It is now in Kampala.
Okay, so even in Kampala, KCCA is supposed to be in charge of its physical planning because it is a decentralized function.
Okay.
Come up with a physical development plan and have that plan implemented. So, but where we go wrong as a country generally, as citizens of Uganda, where we go wrong is on the issue of compliance. So at times we have the plans in place, we're supposed to implement them as such, but when it comes to compliance, we don't meet that criteria. And this has actually hindered orderly development in this country. I'll give you an example that really that is embedded in the physical planning, like the issue of housing in this country. That is one area that we have not addressed. When you travel outside Uganda, you'll be able to see areas very well developed in terms of the housing sector. There is orderly development. There are high-raised buildings. So, but for us, you can see how we have decided to go. We have decided to go vertical. And at the end of the day, you know, land does not expand, it does not increase. So what will happen in future? These buildings that have decided to go vertical, at some point, they will be broken down, and then the horizontal ones put up. So that is one sector we have not addressed. This is why we still have slums in Uganda. And yet, we can move and be very intent and say, okay, let us have a slum upgrading exercise. How can we upgrade these slums? Can we put up condominiums in an organized manner in this particular slum? And therefore, these occupants who are vertically owning properties here in the slum own units on these condominiums, go high-raised, and even government could save on some of those buildings. And therefore, you have an organized country in terms of development. So when you ask that who is in charge, the local governments themselves are in charge. First of all, like I've told you, that we have councils. These councils are the parliament, the ones that are legislating on behalf of that particular local government. And as they legislate, these are some of the things they're supposed to come up with: the bylaws, the ordinances to govern their entity, to govern the operations of their entity. It is them that know how they want their city, their particular local government to look like. So you'll find that a city like Imbarara is not the same as a city like Gulu, you know, because they have planned differently. But there are standards that must be followed in planning. For example, how wide should the roads be? 8 meters wide. So you find that some people have narrow access roads. It is a one way. When you're moving, you have to first stop, wait for another person to move, say driving.
In the middle of the city.
Yes. And yet standard roads really should be 4-lane roads, right? So you find that places, the Kampala you are talking about, have already developed. They have put up permanent developments. The roads are already 2 lanes. That's why you see we have been building and breaking, yeah? A few years ago, about 4 years ago, this Jinja Road was a 2-lane road. Today it's a 4-lane road, you see? And when you saw the resources that were being wasted to break it down. So if we can begin with planning as the initial thing to do, if we can tackle it, then all the other things will fall in. You'll find that the orderly housing development has been addressed. You'll find that the greening has been done, the beautification has been done, but today you find flowers being planted, tomorrow they are being dug out and the place is going to be paved. Or the paved place is being broken down and therefore they are planting the flowers. So all that must be planned for. Yeah, beauty must be planned for. Orderliness must be planned for. You don't just wake up and say, okay, I dreamt about this place having beautiful green red flowers, so let there be, you know. No, it must begin with the plan, then all the other things will fall in. And countries that have planned, that have begun with planning, they have developed very fast. Uganda is one of the biggest tourism destinations, right? But when our tourists get here, how enticing is our country in terms of beauty? Other than them reaching down there and getting to see the animals, the beautiful animals and what. So when they enter the country, what is this first picture they see? When you land in Dubai, the first thing you'll see, you know, a clean, beautiful place, you know, welcoming you. So is that what we see? So those places have been planned before, and therefore we also need to plan early enough. And it's at this point that I urge all these areas that we have declared town councils, municipalities, cities to move very fast, have the plans in place, and also have the plans implemented. That way we shall address all the challenges of urbanization, which are quite a number, and all of them rotate around planning. Solid waste management rotates around planning, you see, and that is a problem, a challenge of an urban area. The waste that is produced in an urban area is not the same as that produced in a rural area, right? There's very little waste produced in the rural area, and even the waste produced in the rural area is organic waste, which is biodegradable. It will rot and then get back recyclable. But in the urban, we are producing plastic waste, which is not easy to which does not decompose, and therefore quite a number of challenges: traffic, congestion. All those are physical planning challenges.
How are you helping local communities to bridge that gap between local councils and the central government, especially in planning? You rightly said it is very expensive, and you'd realize that by their financial muscle, they may not be able to meet or facilitate this kind of physical planning. And one wonders, how are you helping them to really work on that?
Okay, now this is why my Ministry of Local Government actually exists. By the way, my Ministry of Local Government, it is I call it the whole government, the whole of government, because it is a ministry that is responsible for local governments.
True.
It is the local governments that make up this country. And this is where my ministry comes in. Section 105 of the Local Governments Act mandates the Ministry of Local Government to begin with to guide local governments on all matters, technical, political. Therefore, the ministry is also responsible for overseeing the governance of these councils, the local councils. Because much as we have decentralized and these local governments are self-accounting, they do their own budgets, they are self-governing, there must be somebody to oversee them, or else they will go astray. So my ministry comes in to oversee the governance matters. Is everything in order? Are you legislating the right way? This is why when the councillors are elected, we move in very fast to have them inducted, the political leaders. We have them inducted so they are doing the right thing. And then we're also responsible for coordinating the activities in the local governments. Fine, they are carrying out their own activities, but we must support them in coordinating. Some of these activities, how do you coordinate them? Most of the activities they carry out in the local governments are mothered, say, in the center. They are connected to the center. When we go to the education sector, we'll have to coordinate these local governments with the Ministry of Education. When we go to the health sector, we have to coordinate them with Ministry of Health. And then all the others, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Internal Affairs, you know, all the other. So we do that coordination of the local governments. Then when it comes to monitoring, you must monitor. Anybody must be supervised to see that they are doing the right thing. Then we inspect. That is also the other function that we play as a ministry. We inspect. When we are inspecting, what are we inspecting for? We are inspecting for compliance. Yeah? Because there are set rules, there are set guidelines. Upon creation of any local government, any administrative unit, we issue guidelines. This is how this unit is going to be run. So, are the guidelines being followed? So we must inspect for compliance. And those that we find not to be complying.
What happens?
We discipline them. We reprimand them. There are sanctions that are made, right? And where we identify gaps, because if they're not complying, that means there must be a gap somewhere. So is it a capacity gap? So if it's a capacity gap, then we move into do the capacity building, so that at least they are doing the right thing. And of course, you know, human beings are human at times. So at times they go astray, but we move in to see how we support them here and there.
To avoid all those challenges, how are you involving the real citizens of this country to be meaningfully involved in the planning processes to avoid these challenges in future?
Okay, now,
or to remove that gap from bottom now to from bottom to up.
Yes, now because of decentralization, citizen governance is people-centric. How does this happen? You know, in this country, we have the office of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is the leader of all government business. So, and therefore, that is the apex of all the other ministries. And as the office of the Prime Minister, it has moved in, first of all, to assess these local governments in terms of performance. It has moved in to ensure that they are delivering what they're supposed to be delivering, together with us as the Ministry of Local Government. So we work together with the Office of the Prime Minister. The local governments assessed in terms of performance. Those that have found to be lacking, we move in to build their capacities, to improve so that they can improve their performance. Yes, and with the entities who have done it with, they are doing very well. They have improved and there is service delivery. But Office of the Prime Minister also, in terms of involving citizens, there's what we call the barazas. Those are community engagements. So every financial year, a local government is supposed to have at least 2 barazas. But now we have moved as Ministry of Local Government to say, no, let us have a baraza in every quarter. Every 3 months, let's have a baraza, where the people, the leadership of the local government is accounting to the citizens. So the citizens must participate, must come in and say, no, I think here you have not served us well. I think here you're not doing the right thing. I think in this entity, there's a lot of corruption. In this local government, I think things are not going right. So you must be accountable to the people. And we think that way, that will be citizen involvement. And the Office of the Prime Minister is spearheading it. Even us as Ministry of Local Government, we are spearheading it. For example, we have come up with what we call the National Cleanup Days. So we are declaring the national...
I was going to ask you about your plans, especially in environmental protection.
Yes.
And so very many others to do with general cleanliness of our cities.
So, of course, general cleanliness, I told you, because in this country we are operating a decentralized system of governance. Some of those functions are also decentralized. You'll find that the way, say, Fort Portal City is managing its waste is not the same way Mbale City is managing its waste.
And we must recommend people of that tourism cities.
Fort Portal tourism
Fort Portal, it has been known for being a very clean city.
Yes.
We must recommend.
So that one also, I think it takes the discipline of the citizens, I would say, because why Fort Portal clean?
Not the leaders.
And then Mbale. It can also be attributed maybe to the leaders, to the people. So, but in most cases, it begins with us, the people, our discipline. So, and because we all cannot be the same, we have moved as a ministry. We said, no, let us declare National Cleanup Days. And we have said every last Saturday of the month, we shall be having these National Cleanup Days. We are going to launch them. We have not yet launched. One of our towns here has been declared the dirtiest town in Africa, which I will not mention on air for purposes of not embarrassing them. So, but it's a bad thing. So
I think I know that city. The
town.
We pray they improve.
It's a municipality, yes. So want to have this launched, the National Cleanup Days, so that henceforth we'll be having them every last Saturday of the month. Everybody leaves whatever they are doing, at least for a few minutes, a few hours, have the cleanup, and it can make a difference. Yeah. You have seen the executive director of KCCA moving to do the cleaning, and the places that she has left, really, she leaves them clean. Okay. So once you're intentional about cleaning up, it can be done. And like I still insist, it is a decentralized function, so nobody is going to come from Kampala to go and clean up Busia, you know? Nobody is going to come from Kampala to go and clean up Gulu for the people of Gulu. It is the people of Gulu that have to do it.
Maybe it is right time you also consider as the ministry having some leaders, especially from some cities and towns, to come and benchmark or even do a pilot study from cities that have already progressed, like Barara City, like Jinja City, but also Fort Portal City being clean. I think some of the leaders need to come through. You need to also consider that engagement. They come and see what is taking place there, and in that they can take it back home.
Yeah, actually the benchmarks have been done. If you ask the people of, say, Lira City, Gulu City, they will tell you, we have been to Mbarara to see how they manage their waste. What policy are they using? Polluter pays it principle. You see? Generate your waste, pay for the waste. So you find that a city like Mbarara is not even incurring costs, any costs, as government or waste. Whoever is generating the waste is paying for it. So polluter pay principle. Now, people have gone to benchmark, other local governments have gone to benchmark. When you benchmark, what happens? You go back and also say, how can we implement this? So it goes through your council. You can pass a bylaw, you can pass an ordinance and say, for us, this is how we are going to do it, right? That the city council or the district council or the municipal council will collect only waste from the public places, like the markets, like the hospitals, and then the other domestic waste, the polluter pays for it. So that can be a bylaw or an ordinance within your locality, because it is within the powers of that particular entity. And not all entities are the same, especially in terms of size. You'll find a city like Soroti, say, is smaller than Gulu City. So it will generate less waste, or maybe even its population is less than that of Gulu. So maybe you may not use the same technique, but as a country where we want to go now, we want to modernize some of these things, introduce the modern technologies, first of all, of managing waste like it is done elsewhere in other countries. We want to see that wetlands are conserved. We want to see that some areas that are supposed to be preserved, public spaces, are not encroached on. And that calls for order, that calls for discipline, which, of course, we must enforce as a country, especially the leadership.
The sustainability of these town councils, municipalities, cities, especially when we talk about raising their own finances, not depending so much on the central government. Because every time we talk about decentralization, talk about local government, they still depend and rely so much on the central government. How can we empower them to be able to meet their budgets?
Now, sustainability to begin with is very, very key. If we go back to the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, now, SDG 11 talks about the new urban agenda. And the new urban agenda is looking at towns or urban centers that are safe to live in, towns that are inclusive, they can accommodate everybody, towns that are livable, that people can live in these towns, towns that are resilient. Resilient to what? Today we have issues of climate change, right? And therefore, when you talk about resilience, how resilient is this town? And therefore, is it a sustainable town? Can it live the shocks of today and tomorrow? That is the sustainability. So if it is a town today, will my grandchildren come and find it? And even find it better? Or they will find it worse? Or they will find it gone? Some time back, due to climate change, there is a municipality in this country that was washed away by floods, right? And that is Kasese. Hospitals were washed away, schools were washed away, and that was in the municipality. So when we're talking about resilience, resilient to shock, is this town be able to resist this shock of the floods? If we talk about sustainability, the Kasese, if I was in Kasese and then flew out of the country, and then I come back after 2 years, and then I find the whole thing is off. So is that the sustainability we are talking about? So in terms of sustainability, we must look at what the new urban agenda calls for. A town that is resilient, it can resist the shocks, it has addressed issues of climate change, and therefore you don't have the floods, you don't have the earthquakes, it can resist the earthquakes. It is inclusive. There are some towns here where people cannot live. You go to a town and the town is very hot. Why is the town hot? People have not planted trees. Yes. So people have depleted the wetlands. They have drained all the wetlands, and therefore drainage is no longer a priority. And because drainage is poor, when it rains, the place floods. The town floods. We have seen here Kampala flood. And when it rains, maybe for the next 1 hour, if it rains for about an hour, and for 1 hour, everything is at a standstill. No work can continue. Vehicles cannot move because the roads are flooded. So is that the sustainability that we're talking about? In terms of being able to sustain itself, a city, to stand on its own. Because today we have had local governments, we have had entities that are reliant on grants, on grants even from the central government, from the center. So those releases from the central government, when they are not there, you'll find everything is at a standstill. So are we looking at local governments that are self-sustaining tomorrow? This is why we have moved in to say, okay, there's a lot of local revenue that is generated from the taxes that people pay. So if this local revenue is automated, and therefore there's no local revenue that is diverted elsewhere. It is all automated, it is received through the system. This local revenue can get back and be able to deliver the services. And this is sustainability that we are talking about. Once services are delivered today and tomorrow, then we'll have these towns, these cities, these urban areas develop.
Interesting. You must have heard that in the whole of this month of September, we have been conducting nominations, especially for the local councils, leaders at the local level or local government. And one wonders how effective these are and how helpful are they, especially towards the Ministry of Local Government, in facilitating and helping these towns, cities, municipalities to grow effectively.
So the local leaders, because we have decentralized and we've said now, local leaders must choose their own leaders. This is why we are in the political season. Leaders are being nominated to contest, represent views of the people down there, right from the grassroots. So for us as a ministry, once we have these areas declared, we hand over to Electoral Commission. Electoral Commission demarcates the electoral areas and also conducts elections, and then hands over to us leaders, politically elected leaders, whom we move in to induct, because these are going to be our ambassadors on the ground. So we induct them and then flag them off now to begin serving their people that have voted them into power. So we give them the instruments of power, we empower them with the laws, we empower them with the tools and the skills to be able to execute their mandate. And of course, it is at this point that I want to take the opportunity to urge all the citizens of Uganda to choose the right leaders.
What qualities should we look up to for these that you call right leaders?
Now, the right leaders, a good
you call
leader,
them the ambassadors and would love to send good ambassadors. What qualities should we look up to in them?
Of course, a good leader is one who is available. A good leader is one who is going to carry the people's views to where they can be heard and even answered. A good leader is that one who will listen to their people. So we have had people, these days our politics has been monetarized, and people are there for the sake of, they think it's a job, and yet a good leader is that servant leader, one who is supposed to serve their people. So you go in, get elected to serve the people, but not to expect a remuneration at the end of the day for your leadership. So that's why I want to urge people, choose the right people. Don't even look at the parties, don't look at the colors and what. Look at the person's qualities. Will this person be able to deliver my entity to better my entity at this level. So those are the kind of leaders that we need. And of course, for us as Ministry of Local Government, we're also overseeing the governance in these local governments. It becomes very difficult when we get poor quality leaders. They make our work very difficult. At times, they don't allow our technical people to execute their mandate. So all the time you hear wars, councils, people are fighting, people are climbing tables, and therefore you have to go in and put the fire out. And this one also derails service delivery. So a good leader is one who is going to give the technical people an opportunity to be able to work, execute their mandate, and deliver the services that these particular leaders have promised to their people.
Piece of advice as we come so close to the end of our conversation, I would love you to talk directly to those that are planning, are praying, and wishing to have their places declared town councils, cities, or municipalities. What would you have for them?
First of all, I want to say, I wouldn't be the one to make this statement, maybe my minister would, but what I want to say is that as far as declarations of new areas, I think we have declared enough areas in this country. And therefore, we need to consolidate now and say, how can we better these areas that we have declared? We don't need to declare more to deliver services. What has already been declared, the 589 town councils are big enough. They are a big number to be able to deliver services even to the last person. The parish development model that has been introduced so that services are taken to the parish level. That is a strategy good enough to deliver services even up to the last person. So my advice to the people is that we should all look forward to seeing that we are positive, we curb corruption, we condone corruption, so that we all move on the same page and deliver services to the citizens so that we can also develop like other countries have developed.
Okay. Your piece of advice for those that have already been declared town councils, cities, and municipalities.
Yeah, those that have been declared, like I mentioned at the beginning, the first thing that we need to do, actually we can stop anything else, but do the physical planning, do the physical development plan. Once we have a plan in place, it will inform all the other developments. And therefore, as a country, we shall have orderly development, we shall have organized governance, we shall have a peaceful country, a clean environment, a beautiful environment that we all will be proud of.
Your parting shots as we come to the end of our discussion?
My parting shots to the citizens is that it takes two to tango, and therefore we don't expect only people in leadership capacities to be able to do these things that we've been talking about. The planning, the conserving the environment, the managing our waste, the way we are supposed to manage it. So since we are supposed to work together, I want to call upon everybody. Even now that we're in the political season, some people are going to contest and they will not make it. So when they don't make it, they already have manifestos in place. So I want to advise them, bring all these manifestos together, work with those that will have gone through, and ensure that you deliver what you had intended to deliver. So that maybe next time you also contest, you have a platform where to begin from. You don't begin from scratch. So I think if we put all our heads together as a country, we can deliver this country to where we need to the promised land, I would say, and therefore also as we join the status of the developed countries.
Interesting. That is a good call to action, and I want to believe that you've been able to pick a leaf from our discussion. We are always here that you'll be inspired on U24 television, and our guest today was Kemigisha Jackie Chiza, who is in charge of urban planning in this country, coming from the Ministry of Local Government. Every Thursday we come here from 8 to 9, and the repeat of this program is always on Friday morning. And we want to assure you that we always bring you this kind of guests to inspire you and also educate you on a number of issues that affect our country, but most importantly, that we move together as the people of Uganda and we develop as one country. It is the right time now we start and also be part of the progressive agenda to develop our towns, our cities, and also our municipalities. We've been discussing urban planning, local councils, and also looking at building sustainable development and in our communities. Until next time, same station, same program. From me and the team, it's a good night.